Hello and welcome everybody to English Online. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do some writing. First, we're going to talk about it first. Writing, right? I'm sure you like it. No? So, writing is a horror for you, scary. Everybody hates writing. Yeah, it's true. That's correct. It's really difficult. It's sometimes people can feel bored when they are writing because it's difficult. Whatever you write, your teacher or your supervisor is going to say, this is not good. It still needs work. So you don't get this sense of satisfaction. But let me tell you this, writing, as much as it is terrible, boring, it's also very important in your future and academic life, right? So here we are going to see an example. So let's think about it for a second. What do we usually write? So it's like, what am I going to write? This is a question. I want you to think about it and how. So what do you usually write in general? Take a look at this kid. He's thinking about the same thing. So he was told that writing is important, just like I did right now, and he wants to write. He wants to practice writing. So first question, what am I going to write and how? It's good. So the scenario in his mind, it goes like, so probably I'm going to write my diary. Yeah, why not? It's too personal now. A poem. Yeah. Poem? No. Poem is really difficult, right? How about a story? It sounds interesting, a story. So I'm going to write a story about it's difficult. All right, story. Or I can write something on my blog. Yeah, that sounds fun. So I'm going to talk about what am I going to talk about on my blog? Actually, nobody cares, nobody watches or reads my blog, so I'll just drop it. How about a nice paragraph about my dreamland? Wow, that sounds fancy. A dream. So, what's my dreamland? What is it? What is it? I've never thought about it, so. Oh my god, it takes a lot of thinking. Okay, oh yeah, the English homework, that dreaded report. So I'm still stuck to it. I have to do it. Oh my god, so I have to write. Okay, or that boring essay about the danger kids face when playing video games. Come on, seriously? Video games are dangerous? There are more dangerous things in the world out there than video games. Take, for example, global warming or tobaccos, drugs, and I don't know. There are a lot of things. Why would they deprive us of video games? Like the best thing ever happened to us kids, right? Oh my god, this is difficult. So this is what happens. This is a short monologue that happens, that takes place in his brain like that. You see, so the same thing probably is happening to you when you want to write something. But we're not going to speak about writing in general. We're going to speak about a specific type of writing. So, in this lesson, we're going to see what goes into writing essays. So, what do you think goes into writing essays? The first thing is thinking. So you have to think about the topic, and it's very important because what you write on your paper is ideas. So you write ideas. So you have to think about them first. So the process of thinking is not that easy. It sounds easy, but it's not. So the first stage of this thinking, it goes like brainstorming. There's a brain and storm. Combined, it means brainstorm. It's like you create this sort of storm in your brain. It like, you see, if the storm, it doesn't, The stone does not select whether you're a human or a cow or a car or I don't know, a dog, for example. No, it just gathers everything its way, swirl up like that. So what you're going to do is the same thing with your ideas. You're going to brainstorm uh, any possible ideas, like write down every possible idea related to the topic given to you. Brainstorming is messy. It's full with diagrams and arrows and colors and symbols. It's like a map. It's also called mind mapping, right? After you have done all of that, you go to what we call selecting. So you select your ideas according to what was given to you in the topic. After that, you organize those selected ideas in a certain way. We're going to see this in details, right? The second part, or the second process, is drafting. This is where the actual writing takes place. So you're going to write your first attempt. So in this case, you have to know what the structure of your essay is. So we're talking here about the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So all of these are made of paragraphs. And I stress very hard on this notion, paragraphs. It's very important. The last but not least phase is editing, or also called proofreading. You check your connectors, like linking words. You check for spelling mistakes. You go for new vocabulary items and also for punctuation. It's very important. So let's start with the first phase, which is thinking. We have just said it's all about brainstorming. Take this example. 2020 has made people lose their human touch. It's very big, it's very vague, very comprehensive, but rest assured, because when you are taking an exam, they don't give you like this, something like that. All right, they help you with more details that you need to spot. It's like the paragraphs that you need to write about are made clear in the quote. This is very big. I did it on purpose so that you can use your mind, right? So brainstorming means that you're going to write down any idea that crosses your mind and it is somehow connected to the topic. So what we first need to do is to decompose that quote. So remember, brainstorming is a free thinking process. No limits. You just write. There just has to be a connection to the topic, and you don't need to use full sentences. By the way, you just write or use symbols and abbreviations. After you have brainstormed ideas in a piece of paper, like random, like that, wild, right? Then you start selecting. You start selecting ideas that you will need in your writing. So since brainstorming is a wild and free thinking process, you will need to narrow down your ideas to what was given to you in the topic. So what was the topic about? So take, for example, the topic that we've seen early, 2020 has made people lose their human touch. It's like between the lines there's this implied message, like drawbacks of using communication technologies in affecting human relationships. It's not salient, it's not clear there, but it's hidden. Or another possible implied point here is the aspects of negative effects communication technologies have on human connections. Just a different way of saying the same thing. We're still in the process of thinking. The second or the last point here is categorizing your ideas. So here you have to see if you can put your ideas in categories. It's very important. It creates some sort of organization in your writing. You can think of economic, social, political categories, or personal categories, psychological. When we say categories, it could be replaced by perspective. So don't think of categories as like a category. It could be a perspective, an attitude, right? Psychological, direct, indirect, long term, short term. We need this categorizing to create well structured paragraphs. Well structured paragraphs, like the first category or first perspective deals with this particular issue from this particular standpoint, from this particular perspective, right? When you move to the second paragraph, you move to another category, right? So here, before you start writing your first draft, you need to master some things. You need to have this competence in writing. Please. We're talking here about a paragraph because when you're writing an essay, you have to go deeper and master the components that are very important. So if we ask what a paragraph is, a paragraph is a well structured, okay? A paragraph is a well structured and organized group of sentences that deal with one particular idea. That's a paragraph. You don't mix 2, 3 ideas in one paragraph, right? When you're done with the one idea, you move to the second paragraph. What makes a paragraph a good one? This is very important. You can write a paragraph, but whether it's good or bad, that's a different question. So what makes a good paragraph is that it has to include a topic sentence. A topic sentence is that it's a general and attractive and suspenseful introductory sentence. And I stress on this, it's a sentence. Okay? It means this sentence, it has to make the readers eager to read the rest of the paragraph. Okay, this is the second one is supporting details. This is when you give specific arguments. Remember, specifics. Specific arguments, examples, and details that support and explain more the topic sentence. You can have a series of SDs, like supporting details, that one supports and explains the next, so that the whole sequence explains and develops the topic sentence. This is how the structure of your paragraph must be. The last but not least is the concluding sentence. This is where you wrap things up with a general statement that summarizes all the points mentioned above. And it has to have this concluding tone, all right? It's almost like the topic sentence, this is just, it has this concluding tone. It's like you can feel it when you read the concluding sentence. You can feel that it's the end of the paragraph. And I want you to pay attention to something very important here. The 3 parts of a paragraph, the topic sentence, supporting details, and concluding sentence, are respected only when we are told to write just a paragraph. 3 parts in one paragraph, right? Not the essay. In what concerns the essay, we shall see this in details. Now, what's an essay? That's the question of the day. An essay is a group of well-structured and connected paragraphs that deal with one particular topic. You see, the paragraph deals with the idea, but the essay deals with the whole topic. It has many ideas, right? The subject. Good. Now, what are the major types of essays? There are so many types of essays. We have probably 4 or 3 that are major. Take, for example, the narrative essay. It's a narrative. It's a narration like a story. It's like a short story, but it's different. It's different from a short story in that it is written in an essay format. It means in a story, when you read a story, there are some direct speeches, like, for example, like slang words. You can use them. Uh, Even the style of writing is different in stories, not like in narration. So it varies, or it's different in terms of format. The second type is descriptive. This is when you describe something to make the readers feel, smell, see, taste, or hear what is described. It's like you're painting. You are painting a story. Okay, you need to make people feel what you are writing. The third part is the argumentative. It is meant to present arguments in the favor of something in general, and it has an additional fourth paragraph body, all right, body paragraph that is meant to present the opposite arguments. It's optional, all right. You can just give arguments in favor of a particular idea, and then you can stop. Other types of essays, we can say there's the explicatory essay. It exposes things in details to make readers understand without any complications. It explains, that's there. Analytical essay, it analyzes something, such as in literature. Analytical essay analyzes a piece of literature from different angles. This is for literature. Comparative essay, it makes either comparison and or contrast, or both, between two different or similar things. This is usually used in studies, like academic studies. You do a comparative study between two points. Other two types is a review essay. You already know this. A review essay discusses the merits and demerits, like the good things and the bad things of a book, and evaluates it through a review. A simple essay is what you are usually given in class. Is a simple essay. It's just a 5-paragraph essay that is written, for example, 5 is just a number, that is written on any topic after it is specified, like on the day of the exam. You can write a report. Now the second phase, which is drafting, as we said, this is where the actual writing starts taking place. So you have to start with somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Let's say, for example, start with the introduction. So there are some certain points you need to take into consideration when writing the introduction. You start from general to specific, right? What you are told to talk about in the topic, right? And don't give examples, no details, and there must be an opening tone in the introduction as opposed to conclusion. And please don't formulate questions unless you are doing a research paper, for example. But it's just a 5-paragraph essay, short one. You don't need questions. Instead of formulating them in form of questions, you can just make them affirmative instead of interrogative, right? This is an example. The evolution of technology has known significant development, especially communication technology. See here, technology and communication technologies are from the same families, but technology is broader, it's general. Communication technologies is less general. The purpose is to make people's lives easier and more comfortable. However, unfortunately, we lost the very thing that makes us humans. It's the human connection. This is clearly shown in many aspects of our daily life. You see the last sentence, it shows what I'm going to talk about in the body. I'm going to talk about the aspects of this negative effect that communication technologies have on human connection, human relationships or human connections. And I want you to remember this before you start doing that. For the body, when you are writing an essay, which is a series of paragraphs, we provide only the topic sentence, okay? The topic sentence of every paragraph, along with its supporting details. That's all. This is in the body, and no concluding sentences of every paragraph, because at the end we're going to use the conclusion. There we're going to conclude and use almost all the concluding sentences in the paragraphs, but in a different way, right? Another thing to remember is that the number of paragraphs of the body can be varied according to the type of your essay. So here was just can take different forms according to the type. Take very different numbers according to the type of your essay and the points intended to treat. Let's see. Say, for example, you want to write an argumentative essay about the negative and the positive side of a social phenomenon, along with some practical suggestions to avoid these negatives. How many paragraphs the body of your essay should take? Think about it. Pause the video and give me the answer. Let's see if it's this one. Let's check if your answer is correct. It's three paragraphs. Yes. Good. So now we're talking about the body. This is how it should be formulated. The first paragraph is the introduction. And then you move on to the body. Paragraph 1. It takes a topic sentence, okay, plus supporting details. That means arguments. You give specific examples, but no concluding sentence, okay? And then you move on to the second paragraph, which has a different perspective, different category. Of course, with a topic sentence, supporting details, no concluding sentence. The same thing happens to the third paragraph, and then you end up and you wrap things up with a conclusion, and it's also a paragraph. Here we can use all the concluding sentences here in the conclusion, but in a different way. All right. Now the conclusion. Here are some points you need to consider before writing a conclusion. You should start with an expression of closure. We're going to see this in details. Of closure, like for example, to sum up in brief, all right? And you need also to restate the conclusions or the concluding sentences of every paragraph all in one last paragraph. This is the conclusion. And you end with a new perspective. This is optional. You can end with a new perspective, an insight, for example, for further thinking. This is an example. As has been noted, that's the closure, expression of closure. The 3 points or the 3 mentioned aspects of the influence communication technologies have or has influence communication technologies have on human connection is only the tip of the iceberg. It's like you haven't seen nothing, but there are still other things we need to consider. And we must control our use of technology to get back to reality and enjoy life. You see, there's this tone of conclusion. Here are some expressions you can use to make your writings better. I'm talking about the linking words here. If you want to express addition, for example, here are some expressions we could use. Comparison, concession. We've studied this lesson, concession. You see, we have many and several expressions here. They have the same function, but they are used differently. The same goes for addition, for example. Take, for example, along with, I don't know if it's here. Along with, it's not here, it's not added. We can say along with. It's different from using as well as, but they have the same function. Contrast, purpose, results. This is when you give more examples to explain more. All right. And here when you draw conclusions, you see, as has been noted, finally, in brief, short, to summarize, to sum up, or to wrap up, or in conclusion, there are other examples. this is your task. Now that you've gotten clear, we've gotten clear with the form of the tasks, the essay. I want you to write the three needed paragraphs of the body to complete the essay. I gave you the introduction and the conclusion, and I showed you the three aspects of this influence that communication technologies have on our lives. So think about them and provide them in paragraphs. Each paragraph deals with one perspective, one aspect of this influence with supporting details, and then you move on. Editing is very important. It's the final phase of your writing. It's usually done by another person. This is the thing. It's done by another person because it's very difficult for you to spot the mistakes and correct that on the spot. And of course, not when you are taking an exam, for example. Uh, Great writers and novelists have their work proofread or edited by experts. You see, when experts are doing it and they resort to that, it means it's very important and you have to do it as a student. Editing is like when you polish your work and make it even better. How? By using better linking words. You can use also different ideas, new ideas and expressions. You can use suitable vocabulary items when you go back to your writings. And of course, you correct spelling and punctuation mistakes. You see, writing in general is more like drawing a portrait. You see, if you spend 2 hours drawing a portrait that's not the same thing when you are spending like 5 or 6 hours drawing the portrait. And you do it in chunks, it's like in parts. Because when you rest like 1 hour and you go back to your drawing, you can spot some mistakes, some faint things that you need to omit, that you need to add. This is writing. And my final tip for you is that you need to keep writing to become good at it. So practice, 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 and have someone besides you, next to you, who's better than you and who can help you spot your mistakes or do the editing for you. And thank you very much for your attention.